Welcome, everybody. Today for Robin Avis Ramble, it's just me and our guest, Monica Elmiger, and we are going to be digging into hormones.
Woo,
So
let's do it.
let's welcome Monica. Thank you for being here and giving us your time. And let's hear what you have to say. I'm here to learn.
Well, I'm super excited because I have a podcast that deals with marriage and hormones and marriage. They are linked together. And so we're going to
Right.
really dive into how that is, why you need to optimize your hormones, and the impact that it can have on your marriage because hormones affect everything. And that's what I think the bottom line is going to be in this conversation is just how much it does affect.
Yeah. And the older I get, the more I'm learning and the more I can look back on older I don't want to say older relationships, but women who've gone before us that are having
Right.
relationships and some of the things I've seen, and I'm just like, oh wow, hormones could be causing that, and hormones could be causing this, and oh, that's hormones, and this like I'm a hammer and everything's a nail, and everything is hormones right now, right? And so yeah,
Exactly. I'm in the same boat. So I think we're going to have some pretty interesting discussion here.
yeah. So what spurred this conversation initially was a topic on X I think it was earlier this week. Things move so fast, but a topic on how sex is sometimes painful for women. And my statement was, yes, sometimes it's painful, but overall it's a good experience, even if there's a little bit of pain involved. So, and then I was like, I bet that's hormones. So,
Right, right. Well, we are both of the age where we have enough, we're in the throes of it. I'm postmenopausal. I've been on hormone replacement therapy for 5 years. So I'm well versed in the before and after. And my understanding is that you're now of the age as well. And you recently have started HRT and you're still trying to fine tune those numbers that work well for you. So,
gosh, yes.
yeah, as far as the pain, what people, I guess let's start with the basics of
Okay.
women's hormones and the three different hormones that women typically need to have and lose once we get to the age of menopause, which is the estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone.
Yes.
And most women have know that estrogen is a female hormone, but what they don't know is that we also have testosterone. Not only do we have testosterone, we have 4 times as much testosterone as we do estrogen, and they serve very different purposes. And so when women go to menopause, they lose their libido. Sex starts becoming painful. They notice dryness down there. The dryness comes, that's where the pain comes in.
Mm.
Not only because it's dry, there's just your body's not making the lubrication because it doesn't have estrogen. That's estrogen's role there. And then on top of it, the estrogen also keeps those tissues very supple and soft. And so now we have dry, thinning tissues with no lubrication, and penetration becomes very painful. And who wants to have sex when it hurts? And that little
Yeah.
tiny bit of pain when you're already aroused is a much different story than being able to even get the act going to beginning with.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy. So
Yeah.
that's estrogen. What about progesterone and testosterone? What do they do for us as women?
I Progesterone is kind of like that unknown hormone. Like it has a role, but it's not really studied as much um, as far as libido. I really stick to like what do these hormones do for you libido wise. I will tell you,
Okay.
ladies, or any guys watching, progesterone is amazing. Like if we're supplementing, the progesterone is necessary to counter the estrogen so that there's not something called estrogen dominance. And I will say for the record, I'm not a medical professional, but
Sure.
I study a lot of this stuff and it comes into the equation. So I'm probably more well versed than the majority of the typical doctors that you go and seek information from. So this is not medical advice. Seek the proper care of a professional. But
Correct.
the estrogen is definitely involved in the keeping the tissues healthy, supple, the lubrication. But what the testosterone does is it's all about the libido. If you can get your testosterone up to like at least 100, you're going to notice a significant change to your libido. Because what women are surprised about, and the thing that they don't even think about when they're younger and their libido's already decent, is that there will ever come a time that you can look at your husband who you're completely attracted to, but you're just not interested. You're just ambivalent about it. That's because you have no more testosterone. That is the driver of libido. And so it's a very important part, but it's not only necessary for your drive, but it's also necessary for your brain health, the cardiovascular, the muscle protection, your bone density. So it has there's so many testosterone receptors in our body. And yes, it's going to impact your libido, but that is just a sliver of the whole host of benefits that testosterone offers us ladies.
Yeah. I know my first recognized symptom is I would look in the mirror and I would be like, who is that person? I don't really feel like I used to feel. Like, I didn't feel bad. I just felt different. And,
Yeah, it's kind of like you lost who you were, and then you go back on testosterone and you're like, oh, here I am.
yeah,
There I am again.
yeah,
I'm
there's
back.
that energy I've been missing.
Yeah.
There's the motivation. Yeah, and I mean, I'm trying to compete, get on stage in a bikini, and, as a 51-year-old, keeping muscle tone is a big deal, and the more I read, the more I understand, like, testosterone is also contributing to that, which is why, as we age, we start losing muscle density. Is that check?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we're gonna lose muscle as we age, and part of the reason is because our testosterone is declining. So what testosterone does is it allows that the effort and that you're making in the gym, those gains possible again. Even my
Mm,
husband, he recently started on testosterone as well in February, and it makes effort feel good. Like you're gonna see result of your efforts that you're making that you just otherwise wouldn't be able to do. So yeah, keeping you wonder like, oh, why do I have all of a sudden, why is it so difficult to lose weight? I'm doing the same thing. I'm eating the same way. What's going on here? Well, what's going on is that you don't have the testosterone going on anymore. And so you just don't have the ability to retain that muscle that you otherwise would have.
yeah, it's crazy. And then one of the other things I'm reading about testosterone as I dig into any resource I can find these days, is how it affects like your marriage dynamic because like it starts affecting your mood and your motivation, not just for sex, but just for kind of anything.
Yeah, so what you'll find is that you get near menopause and everything your husband does pisses you off. You're like, he breathes wrong. He crunches something wrong. He looks your way. You're like it, and you look at him. And I always say, unless your hormones are optimized, you don't know if you have a husband problem or a hormone problem. You can't even really trust if your irritation is rational because your
Yeah.
hormones are janky and whacked. So what hormones and optimizing them allow you to do is to understand is it me or is it him? And you're gonna quickly find out which one it is.
Yeah. Um, when you say optimized, can we define that? Like, what are we talking about? Is there a specific ratio that we're looking for? Or are we only specifically speaking of optimizing our testosterone numbers and keeping the other ones just in check
Okay, so
somehow?
what happens when you go to the doctor, and this is where you have to be really careful, is they're gonna draw blood, and then
Mm,
the labs are gonna come back, and it's going to say if you're in the reference range, right? You're high, you're low, you're normal. This is where women are getting bad information, is that it is kind of categorized by age. So if I were to go and get my hormone panel done and it showed a level of, or at least mine at the beginning was 9, it
mm,
says that that is normal because they're looking at a 50-year-old woman. Is that normal for her age? Well, of course that's normal, but is that the same level or optimal to where my testosterone was at 20 or 30 years old? No, it's a
right.
highly different number. So just because it's normal for your age does not mean that's where you want to be. I mean, zero. If you have zero testosterone, if you had zero estrogen, they will still tell you that's normal because that's what they expect to find for your age. So when I'm talking about optimal, that's what I'm talking about. Let's get you back to the dosing that you were at least at 20 or 30, and sometimes even above that, because really you got to listen to your body and
Yeah.
because everyone's different. I mean, I like to run between 100 and 150 on my testosterone to feel the best without having other changes like deepening of my voice or, extra hair. So there's kind of a sweet spot for each woman, and you got to figure out what that sweet spot is. And so you can't just treat one area and like bump up your testosterone without impacting the estrogen, because some of that testosterone is going to convert to estrogen anyway.
Right.
But yeah, it's all, they're all together. You can't just focus on one hormone without looking at the entire picture altogether.
Yeah. Um, and I know from talking to women who've gone before us, there was this 2022 study. I'm sorry, 2002 study. Are you familiar with that study?
The World Health Organization or Institute?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it sort of terrified women about hormone replacement therapy. I mean, we have a different view on that now, right? I mean, we've moved beyond the fear and we're embracing the therapy of it all. Is that your
Yeah,
take?
so what happened was there was this big study that kind of had a viral headline, and the media ran with it, and so it was walked back. They saw that there was flaws in the study, and that it didn't cause that estrogen did not cause breast cancer. But by that time,
Right.
with headlines, once it's out there in the public zeitgeist, then it causes whole couple generations of women to be taken off of hormones, and they suffer needlessly because of it. And the reason why this is a popular topic right now is because RFK Jr. just now has come out and really in the last few days has said, okay, we're taking this black box warning label off of estrogen, because even for those women who went to the doctor and was able to finally convince their doctor that they really did need to go on hormones, and they get this box and it would show on there that it causes cancer. And so
Yeah.
they had this black box warning label, and they're just removing that because they now looked at the studies that said not only does it not cause breast cancer, it actually reduces breast cancer and has this all other host of protective measures that we spoke about earlier, like the cardiovascular health and the reducing of dementia. And one of the highest problems with women as they get older is these hip fractures, and it prevents those hip fractures. I'm talking statistically significant decreases, 20, 30, 40, 50%. These are not small little improvements. These are extremely high quality of life things that are going to impact how we age as women. We were done a great disservice, and it's going to take a while to correct it, but at least we're on that path.
Yeah. It's crazy. It's crazy. And then what else have I found? In my research, I think it's linked to testosterone, but and I do see it again in the women that have gone before us. A lot of women who get into that perimenopause, postmenopausal phase, they start suffering more with like a little bit of anxiety, a little bit of depression, and even in myself, risk aversion. Like when I was younger, I would get on a roller coaster and I would be like, "Yeah, let's go." Now I get on a roller coaster, I'm like, "I mean, this is
I'm
the best
gonna
life
die.
choice."
My
Right?
children are not going to have a mother.
And then I was so surprised to read that that's totally normal based on hormone decline. So I feel like
That
you said, we're
makes, no,
doing
that
such a
that I
huge.
didn't think about that, the anxiety and the risk-taking measure, but yes, that those 2 things are associated specifically with testosterone, so that makes sense. This is why
Yeah,
guys go out and do their crazy things, and we always say as women, "This is why you guys die young, because you go
right.
on stupid things and you take a risk." That makes sense. That we didn't even equate that of why am I so anxiety-stricken, and it could be definitely linked to the hormones for sure. So, yeah, just for clarification too, perimenopause and the definition of that versus menopause, it just means it's a window of time, when your hormones start. They can go crazy. There's like no rhyme or reason to them. Sometimes they're crazy high, sometimes it gets low, and they're just all over the place because your body is starting to make adjustments during this phase of your life. So that's what
Yeah,
that space is.
it's insane, right? Because before
Yeah, and then
that,
you
like,
go
you
to the
had.
doctor and you're the doctor, you're like, "I'm having anxiety and I'm having depression and I'm feeling all this way." And what do they give you? They go and hand you out depression meds, and they're not
Yeah,
even trying to like say, "Well, let's start with the basics here. Let's check with your hormones." That really should be the standard basic, like before you go and treat any depression with a med like a SSRI, which will absolutely kill your bedroom. There is
Yeah.
this term called a SSRI induced low libido syndrome. So they know it's going to happen. So now not only are you feeling crappy, your sex life takes a dump, your marriage suffers, and it's all because your hormones just aren't balanced. And it's a disservice. It's really a problem all around.
Yeah. It's crazy. I mean, the more I read about it, the more I understand what hormones do for us and to us and how that can just leach out into all things that we touch in the world. And
And
it's
our poor
insane.
husbands, man. I mean, you ever think about like how awful we must be to live with? Like, gee, no wonder. But and there's this thing right now with the great divorces. Have you heard about great divorces? What that is?
No.
Okay, so great divorces is basically saying that the divorce rate is you wouldn't think it from everything you read online, but the divorce rates have been going down for the last
Mhm.
couple of decades. We're at the lowest divorce rate, and that is already taking in the fact that when we are not marrying as much as before. So people are like, of course it's going down because we're not marrying as much. That already takes that into the equation. But
Okay.
the group of people where the great divorces are going up significantly, meaning people 50 years and older. And it is my theory that the reason this happens is because of hormones, because
Oh,
they don't get hormones treated. Now, everything your husband does pisses you off. You can't stand to be next to this guy. And there's no sex going on. There's no connection on his side. He gets withdrawn because he's not getting that need met. It spirals. And next thing you know, you're at the divorce attorney's office. So it's
yeah.
a problem that I really 100% believe that, hey, before you go to the attorney, why don't you try some hormones? Like, there's nothing to lose, right? And see
Yeah.
if it really is something that your relationship can't be restored.
Yeah. How crazy is that?
Yeah, well, we'll see. It'll be interesting the next couple decades as more women get on hormone replacement therapy to see how that impacts our marriages and the level of divorces. It'll be interesting to watch.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, and add to that, I know like from my husband investigating TRT, um, men's testosterone levels are also tanking,
Yeah, there's
glo
a low testosterone
globally.
epidemic.
Yeah. And so I'm sure that's not adding to I mean, I'm sure that is adding to the problem as well.
Yeah, and
But
what
yeah.
you'll find too is you always have these mismatched libidos. So sometimes the guy, the woman finally goes on hormone replacement therapy. He can't keep up, and then so he has to go get his hormones checked, and he's like, "Oh, my T is low." So finally, you both get on board, and boy, is that a fun time? Because
Yeah.
I always like to tell the guys and most of the men listening to my channel, because I do have a 95% male audience, and they're suffering, many of them are suffering in low libido marriages or dead bedrooms, is that they're on testosterone and their wife won't go on any hormones, and you have this huge gap in libido, and it's a problem. Or you can have the reverse where his testosterone might be a little bit lower normal, and then she goes on hormones, and now he just can't keep up with her. But then when you get both people on, boy, well, talk about having the best sex of your life. You can just have it. Doesn't have to be, it's either going to be the worst time or the best time, but the choice
Yeah.
is yours, is what I always say.
Yeah. So, that's an interesting question. Why do you think your listeners are 95% male? Do you think women just aren't cluing in or they're not interested in trying to fix the problem or learning about it?
Yeah, women are just not the fixers in the relationship. So what happens is the men, they're like, we have a problem here. And especially within the hormone discussion, because women are just accepting of, well, I don't like sex anymore and I'm fine not wanting sex, because like, if I always say, if women wanted to fix the problem, it would have already been fixed.
Hmm.
She's not fixing it because it's not a problem to her. So the guys have to take matters into their own hands, or it may even be a situation where they've gone to the doctor, they've been given that bad information, and they're saying your hormone levels are normal, or they still believe this awful study headline that came out. And so it's a struggle all the way. And I tell these guys, I'm like, you're going to have to take the lead on this. You're
Yeah.
going to have to be the one that says, no, you are going to get your hormones checked. I will make the appointment for you. I will drive you there. I will be at the doctor's office with you. And too many of them just hold their hands up and say, well, she refuses to do it. And I was like, that's not an acceptable answer, because for her basically to opt out of a sex life, that's fine
Yeah.
for her choosing. It's not okay to mandate that upon you. So she has to, as a good faith partner and a good faith effort, at least go through that process and try to get it resolved. And simply saying, "Oh, well, I'm sorry, your concerns aren't my concerns," that's an unacceptable answer to a woman who proclaims to love her husband.
Yeah. I liken it to adultery. I mean,
It really
sex
is. I mean,
reason
it's
men get
cruel.
married. Without sex, why are they getting married?
Right, and especially when there is a potential fix. Like
Yeah.
there's a fix, and you're refusing to refix that. You're emotionally and physically have abandoned the marriage. That's it.
Yeah.
You might be living
Yeah.
underneath the same house, but you've abandoned your marriage, and it's just very selfish to think about. I'm fine with it, so therefore you have to be fine with it. What kind
Yeah.
of loving person says that?
Agreed. Yeah. It's crazy. Yeah. I know for myself, like once I recognized, yeah, I should probably be taking care of this. And I talked to Rob about it, and he was like, yeah, you should take care of it. I'm like, but it's so complicated. It's going to be all this trial and error. I wasn't excited about it. And he was like, yeah, well, I'll go with you. Like you said, just go, hold my hand, listen to everything, be a secondary, like, listen to it. And so that was great to have
Yeah,
his
yeah,
support on
that
that.
is having that support, because it can be a scary process, especially when you're still apprehensive about, like, is this really safe or is it not safe? Or is he just going, is he telling me to go on hormones simply because he wants more sex? And it's not because he cares about me and my health. It's just, it's just him being sneaky, and he's only thinking about himself. That's another sentiment that most women
Yeah,
embody.
that's crazy. Um, so crazy. Let me look at my notes.
So what I'm interested, I've been on hormones for 5 years.
Okay.
So I'm pretty deep in this process. You're freshly new to the hormones. What were
Mhm.
your expectations for what you would experience versus reality? And you're still tweaking them, right? Because I think that's an
Yes.
important thing also that people need to know, that like the first time out of the gate, you're probably not going to get your hormone levels, and it's an ongoing process, because this is something else where they'll try something once, it didn't work, or they had bad reaction, and then they give up.
Right.
So right now you've started,
Yeah,
but
I
your
started
your
near the
levels
beginning of the
aren't
year.
there yet,
Yeah.
and you still have to work through it. So is
Yeah,
that
so
something that you've had to, what's been your experience like in this
yes.
beginning stage?
So, fortunately, Rob and I have never had dead bedrooms, so that wasn't, like, high on my radar, like, increasing my libido. I just was lacking energy, I didn't feel like myself, and, just things like not that I got fat, but I got fluffy, if you
Right,
will. Like,
right.
there was just this level of fluff that I didn't like when I looked in the mirror, and I was doing, not just all of the same things. I started, switching up and trying new things like that, and it just, like, I wasn't getting anywhere. So I was like,
That's
"Okay, well,
frustrating.
it's frustrating," and then not feeling like yourself and mostly just, like, not enough energy. So yeah, I went, found a really good nurse practitioner, and she, tested my blood as she should, and she identified some problems that she wanted to take care of. So we did like I had she did some treatments for like heavy metals in my blood. My thyroid levels were getting like my Hashimoto's marker was getting kind of high. It was like indicating that I might be coming into Hashimoto's territory. So we treated thyroid and cortisol, and my blood was a little bit thicker than she wanted, so we, like, did some treatments for that. Anyway, so this whole protocol, and as I went through this protocol, I did feel better and I got more energy, and so, that took several months to complete, and then I was like, "Okay, this is good," and then, I was like, "This is good," and then, like, slowly, I'm like, "Okay, I'm losing my energy again, let me start reading more," so I'm like so now I'm on kind of that second round of, okay, well, the first round was great, like, I got results that I wanted, I got some energy back, but now that I'm learning more as, like, I am forever a student, so I'm just reading everything that I can, and then I'm, like, cluing into what my lab results mean because 'cause I'm getting them done every 3 months, and so, yeah, so now I'm just like, "Okay, well, that was good, but it could be better." So
Yeah,
now I'm kind of taking that
absolutely.
next step.
Yeah, because you're always
Yeah.
wanting to move forward and the potential of your body. I noticed a lot of body recompositioning with the testosterone, meaning that I was,
Mm.
I'm the, I weigh the lowest I've ever weighed in my life. So, and
Same.
so, the effort that even just, yeah, so I'm leaner, I'm toner, energy. I've always had pretty good energy. I never went through the whole like hot flash thing. My big one symptom was that there was dryness. It was like,
Mm.
what's going on here? So like when we would go to have sex, my husband and I, like we'd have to use lube, and I'm like, this isn't. And I would tell him, I'm like, I'm interested. I promise you, I'm interested.
Yeah.
But my body was not responding to the arousal, the mental arousal that was there. And so, like, imagine from the guy's point of view, like every single time your woman has to pull out lube, like that has to
Yeah.
feel bad from for a guy's ego, and you're trying to tell him, I know, I swear it's not you. And so it was just annoying. Even dryness, even walking, I could feel it. And so for me, that was my big thing.
Mhm.
I've never had a hot flash in my life, so that's good. I prevented that, but yeah, it was honestly the hormones are what prompted what I call my radical change in my marriage. We always had a decent marriage, but as my libido got that testosterone in my system, and it was the first time I was like, oh my god, this is what you guys deal with all the time. It was great. I'm like, I'm horny for you all the time. Let's go. And
Yeah.
so my husband, of course, he was loving it. He was thinking it was awesome. And then because I was satisfying above and beyond in that capacity, he started really like stepping up as a husband too, and has created this really amazing biofeedback. And then I was like, well, what else can I do to make him happy? And it literally was the first domino that totally impacted my marriage, and hence why I have a marriage podcast. And this is why I'm such an advocate for hormones, specifically testosterone, because I kind of like thinking of what our marriage looks like now versus the very average. There was nothing wrong, but would I say it was stellar? Probably not. And we just have an amazing marriage now. And to think that we could have not had that had I not gone
Yeah.
through the process is kind of scary.
Yeah.
So
I
it's
mean,
been
an
a really,
average
really
marriage.
good experience for me.
Yeah, an
And
average marriage when hormones go untouched could just decline.
yeah. Yeah, where's the motivation to show up as your best self? Where's the motivation
Yeah.
to go to the gym? And like we owe that to not only for ourselves, we owe that to our I hate the word partner, to our spouse.
Yeah. We don't use the word partner in this house.
Partner is forbidden. It's a forbidden word.
Yeah. Yeah. We don't use that here. Um, but yeah, so yeah, all of the things that you're saying, it's exciting, and just that little story alone proves that sex is important to a marriage, right?
Oh
Great
yeah,
sex
yeah,
makes
yeah. These
everything
women
better.
who are saying, "Oh," and the reason why it's important is because we have to understand as women that the way we feel loved is different than the way men feel loved, and the emotional connection that we seek as a woman, we seek through attention and presence and talking. This is how we emotionally connect to our husbands. That's not the primary way to emotionally connect with that is through sex, and too many women think that sex is for men is just a physical release, and that is not correct. That is his way. He feels the most connected to you, and
Mhm.
so if you're not giving him that touch point of connection, then what you can't think that he's going to be able to be as loving and showing up for you the way that you want. It's very much a chicken and the egg situation where you pour into him, he's going to pour back into you. So you can't expect him to pour into you and then not do the same for him by showing up for sex, because that's his emotional connection. Like, how's he supposed to bond to you? How's he supposed to feel connected to you? It's not a purely physical release. He has his hand. If that's
Yeah.
all it is about, his hand works just fine.
Yeah. And we're not talking about starfish sex either.
Right, right. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't have to be like porn star, rock star kind of, but when you show up, at least has to be like some level. Like, don't don't make him feel bad, or like, all right, are you almost done yet? Like that's nobody wants that. So,
No.
if you agree to participate to a certain level, right? You just, most of the time you have to lay there, but give the guy something to go off. My gosh.
Yeah. I like to say, never have I ever regretted having sex with my
You
husband,
don't. It's very much like
right?
exercise, right? There's a lag. There might be a lag in desire, but once you get going, you're like, okay, I'm glad I did that. That feels good.
Right.
All right. Uh,
Exactly, yeah.
yeah. Yeah. Even if you are showing up primarily for him, you still don't regret it at the end. And how long does it take? And I did a whole breakdown video of, do
Oh,
you know
you did?
how many minutes we have in a week? It's
No.
10,080 minutes. And
Okay.
we're talking, if you show up 20 minutes a week for your husband, as a woman, if you try to tell me you don't have 20 minutes out of 10,080 once a week for your husband, there is something wrong with you. You need to look at your heart, because that is an extremely selfish stance to take. I don't even know why you're married. If you don't like your husband enough to provide 20 minutes for him, then you have no business being married.
Yeah. Yeah. It's crazy. I mean, if you're not gonna have sex, you have no business being married.
And it's much different saying that you can't. But even then, I think that I'm like, well, that's an excuse. Because let's say, for instance, that penetration, for whatever reason, is forever off the table.
Mm.
Are you telling me that's the only way you can have sex?
Right?
Do you not have a mouth and hands, other fun body parts?
Yeah.
That ultimately is really boils down to, once again, an excuse and not prioritizing your husband. So,
Oh, absolutely. Rob and
I
I,
mean, there are medical conditions. I'm not saying that, but most of the time, it's an excuse.
right. I mean, when we talk about sex, we're generalizing to the center of the bell curve. Like, there's always extenuating circumstances out there, and those are extenuating circumstances. It's not the norm. Rob and I did a whole podcast about it, because, like, a lot of women will have a baby and then they can't have sex for, I don't know, some women a
6 weeks or
year,
something.
3 years, whatever, and I'm
Three
just like,
years.
you gotta like you said, you have other body parts, right? Like,
It's
sex
right.
isn't always penetration. I mean, come on, come on.
Exactly. And I think it's very important that we have women like us who are saying that narrative, because if a man is the one, if it's the husband's the one that's saying this, it gets discounted. That's why it needs to come from other women, because when other women call other women out on their BS, then it's heard, then it's legit. But for some reason, if your husband comes to you and says the same thing, then it's all, yeah, well, is that all you think about? Is that all you need? So I think it is
Right.
really important, this conversation, that there are more females going out there and saying, ladies, you need to step up and stop being so self-centered in your relationship, in your marriage, because this is important to your men. And this men are voiceless, and so we have to be the voice that they can't have.
Yeah. Yeah. It's crazy. I don't know. I don't understand women that refuse sex.
Well, isn't that like, I just don't understand women. I'm like, well, that we could just end it right there. Sorry,
We
we do love you women, but it is necessary. I do feel that society has really done a disservice to women, to
Yeah.
think that everything is about us, and we need to stop being so egocentric.
Let's circle this back around to hormones and women's behavior, because you were talking about being the leanest you are ever, and hormones and body fat kind of go hand in hand. And I know there's a little bit of an epidemic of heavier women these days with the body positive movement, and I think, how is that affecting their hormones, and how might that be leading into like dead bedroom situations? Any
Well,
insight on
even just
that?
being overweight, how as women, we're just our body, what we think about our own bodies is going to show up into how you're showing up in the bedroom. If you're not confident in the way that you look, you're going to hide. You're not going to be comfortable because you see yourself and you're looking in the mirror and you're seeing yourself through a certain way. There's stretch marks, the rolls. Guys don't see us this way, but it's
Mm,
going to, if you're fit and you're healthy and you're lean, you're going to be very confident in the way your body looks. Even if you're not confident, at least you're not disgusted by it. So
yeah.
first, you have to understand, men don't look at you the same way. But second, that if you don't like what you're seeing, then work on it, because there's nothing better than taking pictures and not having to hide behind somebody. or not
Mhm.
even being afraid to take pictures. It impacts everything. So if you can have, the hormones are another tool for women to, have the life that they want, the quality that you want, because it's so easy. Complacency is so tough. It's gonna be harder as we get age. Everything gets harder. Then you gotta give yourself every possible assist that you can. And so, yeah, I really hammer on the health benefits of that. But it's going to show up mentally. It's going to impact everything. If
Mhm.
you're not, if you're obese, it's just not good. But do know specifically in men, when they get overweight, that the fat in our bodies carries more estrogen, and
Right.
estrogen holds the fat. So it's like this cycle, right? The more fat you have, the more estrogen you have, and the more estrogen you have, the more fat you're going to hold. So you definitely want to get your muscle mass as high as possible as a woman, and your fat level down to a healthy level. Of course, because if you go too low, then that negatively impacts the hormones too. So we
Right.
can't get too low, and then your periods stop, and all this other stuff.
It's so hard to be a woman.
It
But
is. It's so tough, but I'm so happy to like see things moving in the right direction finally.
yeah, it's very exciting. But
Yeah.
going back to like, if your husband wants to see you naked, like it doesn't matter when you look in the mirror and you think of all of the terrible things about yourself, because we all know we're our worst critics. But if your
Yes.
husband is still like, "Honey, get naked. I want to have sex with
Yes.
you." Get
Don't turn the
naked
lights
and
off.
have sex. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
if he is still interested, let it let it go,
Yeah.
right? I mean,
Totally.
that
He's
doesn't
into
mean you
you.
can't still work on it, but, like, if he's still interested, you still got something.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, they don't even now. It's funny because we'll look back at the highest I ever got was 140. I'm 5'2", so like every
Oh,
5 pounds,
same.
it really shows. So the highest I got was 140, and I didn't ever weigh myself, but because it would mess with my head. But we would now look back. I'm around 115, but like that's a 25-pound difference. And I look back at pictures, and he's like, "I never saw you that way."
Yeah.
So men, they have these rose colored glasses when they look at you. He can see it now, and looking, comparing, but yeah, guys just look at you. You're attractive to them. There does come a point that they will get turned off, but
Oh,
it takes a
yeah.
lot. It really does take a lot.
Yeah. Rob and I, we've been, pretty open about how honest we are with each other, and, like, he can see a pound on me. And so he, has always wanted to have sex with me, but he doesn't fret about that, "Hey, like, what is this extra 5 pounds you've gained? Like, can we knock that
Yeah.
off?" And I appreciate that, because a lot of men will wait until you're unattractive to them before they say, "Hey, well, we're not having sex
Oh, I
because you
don't
got
think they
fat."
say anything at all. I think they're too scared. They're too
Well,
scared to
that's
bring
true
it
too.
up. I think that's a conversation that I admire that about you guys. Does he call you out? Does he say, "Hey, you've gained like 5 pounds, you need to tighten it up?" Does he say
Yeah.
that?
Mhm.
I respect
Absolutely.
that, and there's a lot of
Yeah.
women that would think that's out of line. I think he's doing solid by you,
Oh,
because
same.
you gotta hold each other accountable.
Yeah.
I have now a red line, for myself now that I'm down at this weight and I really like this weight. I'm like, "Okay, my red line is 115." If I weigh myself now every single day, and if I have this window, I don't thankfully fluctuate that much, but it's 113 to 115. If I get to the 115, I start dieting. And people are like, "Well, it's only a pound," or you hear this, only 5 pounds. No, well, that's how it starts. And if you
Yeah.
can't lose 5 pounds, how are you going to lose 10 or 15 or 20? So holding each
Yeah.
other accountable is sweet. And I really admire you guys for that.
Yeah, it leaves nothing to the imagination. I know what he's thinking. I don't have to interpret his looks or his try to figure out his thoughts. We have the hard conversations. I mean, not just around weight, around everything, right? And so
Yeah,
it's just
that's
easier that
really
way.
there, but there has to be a level of maturity on the woman's side, because the men naturally can have those hard conversations. You can look at a guy and say, like, "Dude, look at you got fat, look at that bare belly," and he'd be like grabbing him, "Yeah, you're right," kind of thing. If you tell that to a woman, "How dare you? Like, how you
Yeah.
dare? How dare you? You're supposed to love me for all my extra 50 pounds." And that's something I
Yeah.
really admire about men, is that you can have these frank conversations. But on the flip side, we need to not be so put off as women when guys and allow them to approach us in these difficult conversations, to know
Yeah.
that when they're doing it out of a place of love and for honesty and transparency. Um and I that's true. I didn't even think about the fact that now if he's looking at you weird, we're so in tune, like, why is he looking at the way? Does he finding me fat? What's going on? We create these
Right.
stories. It just stops that whole process.
It really does, 'cause, I mean, 5 pounds doesn't mean he stopped loving you, but 10 pounds,
Right.
15 pounds means he's gonna start finding you less attractive, and
Yes,
so, if attraction is
absolutely.
important to you, like, just allowing him to be open and honest. Now, to his credit, he does understand women's hormones and knows that the best week to do that is not the PMS week.
Yes, yeah, definitely good, guys. Like, this is a cheat code for you, any
Yeah.
guys listening, is to definitely track your women's menstrual cycle, and
Yes.
you can use this to your favor. So,
Mhm.
an awareness of what's going on internally with your wife is important.
Yeah, yeah. I think it was, we were talking to somebody, I think it was Fort Worth Playboy, and he was like, "If you can master when your woman is mid-cycle, that's gonna be your best sex day." So,
Yeah, and
um
imagine what I say about the menopause is, like, imagine the level that you are of horniness and feralness, and just having to have your man, like, those 3-4 days.
uh-huh.
Imagine being like that every day. That's what
Nice.
menopause can be like. That's what it's like for me, and
Right.
that's why I'm like, this can be the best time of your life. So,
Yeah.
that we can have that 30 days out of every
Yeah.
month.
So, we need to spread the word and change the narrative from those early studies because it's not a thing to be feared anymore. It's a thing to be embraced.
We're gonna start seeing a difference. Right now, I believe the stat is that only 5% of women are on hormone replacement therapy.
Mhm.
So imagine the profound impact in keeping marriages from breaking up, reducing the divorce rate. How this is going to spread out into society, because the more marriages we can keep together, or it's going to have a societal benefit. This is not just something like, oh, okay, we all get to have great sex. Yes, that's part of it, but this has the potential of changing society, and there's a much bigger, picture to this whole conversation.
Absolutely. I remember before I turned 40, when Rob and I were in our 30s, it was like, "Oh, 40, like, women are basically dead at 40." And I dreaded that for a long time, and then, as my 40th approached, I was like, "You know what? Screw this dread. I'm gonna have a giant party." So I threw, like, this huge party. We rented this big lake house, and there was, like, 200 people and a DJ, and it was amazing, and I was like, "This is 40, not dread. This is 40." And so now, like, as I'm approaching menopause, I'm in that weird stage flux right now. I'm like, I'm not gonna dread it because like you, there's women out there who are beyond the period cycles and really embracing the hormones and just living life to the fullest and being beautiful and, and it's like that is menopause.
Right.
So,
You got to look at it. You're very well at this point of time in your life. You're very comfortable with who you are as a woman. These insecurities and trying to go along to get along, and oh, is somebody gonna like me and not like me? We're just very much of the, like, if they like me, they like me. If not, cool, I'm good with that
yeah.
too. So you're very
Mhm.
comfortable with the people. If they want to be in your life, they can. If not, that's fine too. So
Yeah.
there's that self validation that comes along with our age. Typically, also, your children are at least older, if not outside of the house. Typically, you're in a better situation financially. So you're really set
Mhm.
up at this point of your life to really just, this is the good times. Our 50s is not like, the 50s of a couple decades ago. We're not looking the same. This is not the Golden Girls type of
Right.
phase of
Thank
life.
God.
We're going to be doing 50s, 60s, and 70s much differently.
Yeah.
And this is we're kind of pioneers in this category of how this is all going to look. So it's an exciting time to be
Yeah.
a woman.
Agreed. I did have a question again. Some of my friends are going to their doctors with symptoms that we've been talking about, and their doctors are putting them on birth control instead of hormone therapy. So, what's the difference and the pros and the cons? Are you familiar with
Yeah. So
that?
the problem with birth control is that it's synthetic. And then
Mm,
if you're only addressing what you want to be on is estradiol, and you're not in the estrogen that's in birth control is not estradiol. So you want to make sure it's a bioidentical hormone.
Okay.
And then are they not adding in progesterone in there? Are they not adding in testosterone in there? It's just a very incomplete. It's not the optimal
Yeah.
way to do it, but it's the way that they had it. You got to be really careful when if you're a man. This is not talking about where people are now, but hormones, birth control are they're bad. And the reason why they're bad is because it changes the kind of man that you select for. So imagine that your girlfriend is on birth control and then you get married and she goes off of, now I'm talking oral contraceptives, not like an IUD or something, but something that the
Right.
systemic birth control oral contraceptive. She goes off of her birth control to try to get pregnant and she realizes she's not even attracted to you because the type of guy she was attracted to on birth control is different than the kind of guy that she is attracted to off of it. Like, and you didn't do anything wrong. Like there was nothing that changed, but her preference for what she's attracted to changed because of that hormone manipulation. So yeah, it's highly problematic. I would advise any guy who has a girlfriend on birth control find alternative means because you don't even know the type of woman that
Yeah.
you're dating.
I read a report on that, and that's crazy.
It's crazy.
Sometimes even going off of birth control can make your man smell bad to you.
Right.
I read. Yes, that is
Right, don't they, I
insanity.
believe it is that they select for softer,
Right.
less
More
masculine
beta.
men, and
Yeah.
then all of a sudden they go after like, "Oh, I really want you to be a man and you're not." So,
Yes.
and that they're just as confused as the guy is, and that nobody's right
Yes.
or wrong in this whole thing, but it's just now that you're left with dealing with that reality.
It's crazy. It's crazy. And when
Yeah.
I read that, my mind just it blew. So, I mean, it's not a good thing for young people or older people in my
Oh,
mind.
yeah. Yeah, the bioidentical hormones are the way to go.
Yeah, that's crazy. Um, okay, so and then testosterone for women, it can be hard to get. So there's a couple forms out there that I'm aware of. There's the creams, the pellets, and some women are getting injectable testosterone. Like, what is the differences and what is like
Oh, yeah,
what are
and
the
then there's
different kinds
also,
good
the thing
for?
called, like, a troche and then also the oral. So,
Oh,
yeah, there's a lot of
oral, right.
different delivery
That's
methods,
true.
but, okay, so
Mhm.
the obstacle that women are having with testosterone in general, no matter what the form, is that, there is no FDA approved level of or dosing or product for
Right?
women.
How
So, some
crazy is that?
countries do. Some countries have a couple products, but, I believe men have typically, like, 13 different types or delivery mechanisms for testosterone, and women, like, we have very few because any of the if you can get a doctor to prescribe you testosterone, it's not going to be something that your insurance covers, so you have a financial cost of that.
Mhm.
And then, like, I've been on pellets, so that's been out of pocket for 5 years, worth it. That each delivery methods have its good and it's bad things with it. So you just kind of got to find one that works for you. I'm considering switching over to injections because my husband's now on injections and he likes to do everything together. So
Mhm.
yeah, sometimes women even have to go to just these male hormone clinics, these TRT clinics, to and kind of draw off of a man's bile. It is a regulated substance, and so it's a controlled substance due to all the doping that I guess was happening with the athletes, and that's something that they're also working on getting rectified. So yeah, getting it is difficult. Finding a doctor that knows what he's doing and is willing to prescribe it is difficult. The financial side of it's difficult. It's an uphill battle. It's going to get better, hopefully,
Yeah.
but it's definitely a battle.
So the cream is pretty, self-explanatory. It's like a lotion, you put it somewhere, a specific amount. The
Yeah.
pellets, describe the pellets.
So the pellets are like if you'd imagine a little like a grain of rice.
Mhm.
They are compounded hormone that they do a small incision using the upper buttock area, and they insert it, and then over it takes about 2 weeks as it's a more of like a time release type of thing. So it takes about a couple weeks for you to start really feeling it, and then level peaks out around 6 weeks, and then it's pretty steady, but then does a slow and steady decline, and it will last about 3 to 4 months.
Okay.
that's an option. It's the most set it and forget it method, and that's why I really like it. Some of these
Mhm.
pellet people will kind of really go too far, too much dosing, and that's why a lot of the doctors don't like it, because you get these women that like a 300 or 400 level. That's just for most women too much, and then they don't like the cost consideration. But I'm lazy, so I really do like the set it and forget it method, of that. And I don't even think the cost is out of line. It's different. Like, I pay $450 every 3 months. Most women can get 4 months out of it. I can't. My body burns through it too fast. So I have a little bit more of a cost, but that includes the labs. But and then you have the injectable, like testosterone. If you can get it in a vial, it's cheap. Even paying cash
Yeah.
is cheap. I think I can get a vial to last. I was doing the math on it, almost 6 months. So
Yeah.
that would definitely be a method. And then you have like the estrogens can be done in a cream, like you said, or it can
Mhm.
be on a patch. I think creams, for me, the reason why I'm not a fan of creams is because, once again, I'm lazy, and I know myself. I'm gonna forget it. I
Mhm.
know this. Another thing is, I'm like, if you have to apply cream into like the vaginal area, I'm like, once again, I won't remember, and then I'm like, is it gonna be messy? So you just kind of have to know yourself and know what's going to
Yeah.
be a method that you're going to be most compliant with. Um,
Right.
are you going to actually do it? And then if you've got to figure, most women are going to have to figure in the financial cost of everything. So there's no one solution that is best as far as delivery.
Is there any injectables for progesterone or estrogen?
Progesterone is just a pill. So you
Okay.
just take that at night before you go to sleep, and it is going to knock you out. It's good stuff for sleep. What I noticed is that I didn't have problems going to sleep, but I had problems staying asleep. So I would
Mhm.
wake up around 3:30 in the morning, and now I sleep through beautifully. So
It does
definitely,
not have that effect on
if
me.
you're having trouble sleeping, progesterone's where it's at. You don't need progesterone if you still have a uterus, because basically you just don't want to become estrogen dominant, which sets you
Mhm.
up for cancer. And I was like, okay, well, that's fine. But if you're a woman who's gone through like a hysterectomy, you don't have a uterus anymore, you don't need the progesterone. I would never live without it, because the sleep benefit is just too amazing.
Interesting. Very interesting. I just took a note. Um,
Are you on progesterone?
I am, but I also have a uterus, so that leads me to question, and research the statement that you just made, that if you have a uterus, you don't need progesterone.
No, if you have a uterus, you need progesterone. If you
Oh,
don't
you
have
do
a
need it.
uterus,
Okay, okay.
yes.
I
Yes,
misheard
if
you.
you
Okay.
have a uterus, you need to be on the progesterone to
Okay.
make sure you don't become estrogen dominant, which will set you up for a risk factor of getting potential cancer in that area.
Okay. I'm no longer afraid. For a moment there, I was like, "Oh my
No,
gosh, I'm
no, I'm
doing something I
sorry. I'm
shouldn't be
sorry.
doing."
And
No,
there's
no.
like different dosing and
I
levels, but
misheard.
yeah, yeah. But
Yeah.
I know initially I was a little bit hesitant, because I'm like, do I really need progesterone? And she's like, yeah, you have uterus. I'm like, okay, what's the worst case scenario? If something happens, I can just get it out. I mean, I'm done with that phase of life. So for me, I
Yeah.
never really thought, but like I said, I probably won't ever go off progesterone, just because of the fact that the sleep is too good. And we all know how important sleep is. That's, if you're not getting good sleep, the rest of your life is going to be really tough.
Yeah. I'm like a professional sleeper. Like, I could
You
literally
don't
I
have
could
any
sleep
trouble sleeping.
10 hours a night. No. I could sleep 10
Supposedly,
hours a
women
night.
need more sleep than men, but
I
I
don't
don't
know.
know.
Rob's awake when I go to sleep, and he's awake when I wake up, so
Well, he
I
knows
sleep
it.
way more than him.
You need your beauty sleep.
Exactly, exactly. Well, we're coming up on our hour. That went super fast. Is there anything we didn't cover that we should cover before we close out here?
No, I think you hit all the topics really, really well. The one I would recommend, because of the weird disruptors in the water, and before you would think, okay, I don't really need to get my hormones tested before age 45, 50, right?
Mhm.
Now I think it's really important for women to I think what I think as the ideal situation would be is, if you're a woman in your 20s, get your level tested now. This is going to give you a really good baseline of where you were. So then
I
you
would
know
love to
what,
have
once
those
you finally
numbers.
do get to menopause, what your levels you're optimizing for. And
Yeah.
and even if you are in normal range but you're still experiencing symptoms, then that might be keep going, like keep going, because so much of this is symptomatic based. But yeah, start testing earlier, is much
Mhm.
earlier than you probably think.
Well, and two, the normal ranges, those are based on today's culture, not historical
That's an
numbers
important
as
point.
well.
Every
They
lab
keep
has different
adjusting them.
normal. No, yeah, historical, and every lab has different ranges too. So
Yeah.
who pulled these out of a hat and be like, this is the normal range? Says who?
Right,
That doesn't
right.
even make any sense. How they? I know they have to have a reference range, but yeah, normal doesn't mean optimal. So that's kind of the slogan I like to go by.
Exactly. Normal does not mean optimal. What does optimal mean? That's based on who you are and what you're doing, I guess, as well.
Yeah, it's gonna be
Um,
different for everyone.
any resources that you can point us to that
Yes,
are
actually, the doctor who I always send people to is Dr. Kelly Casperson, on
Mhm.
YouTube for to get educated. She is the specialist. She's a urologist that specializes in really educating people about testosterone in women. So she is the doctor that all the other doctors listen to. She knows her
Interesting.
stuff. And if you go and watch her channel and the videos on her channel, and are not convinced about the benefits of hormone replacement therapy with testosterone specifically, then I can't help you. Like, no, if you can't get convinced by her, you're not going to be convinced by anybody. So
Yeah.
she's my favorite resource, Dr. Kelly Casperson. She's also on Instagram, but and then she also collaborates with quite a few doctors. She has a book out, and I think another one on the way.
Okay. Awesome. Another book to add to my stack. I have so many books in
Right.
my stack right now. I should be a professional reader,
I
not a
think her book is
professional
called
sleeper.
You Are Not Broken. Let me see if I have it. Um, yeah, this is her book.
You
You're
are
Not
not
Broken by
broken.
Dr. Kelly Casperson. So that's a
Excellent.
good one. But too, yeah, just encourage the men to really lead their wives through this process, because most women just aren't going to do it on their own. They're going to need some guidance.
Yeah. And not only lead, but understand why you're leading because, I mean, you're a bitch today and you were yesterday could just mean, oh, maybe we should get your hormones checked, dear.
Yeah, and in fact, I was the one in reverse. My husband, I was like, "Oh, you're being really grumpy," but it was a pattern, and I was the one that approached him and said, "I think you need your hormones checked. You're a
Yeah.
bit more irritable. You're like he's a little lethargic." I'm like, "This is not the husband that I know." So your spouse knows you the best, and so if
Yeah.
they're most men probably don't feel comfortable enough to be like, "Hey, you've been a bitch for the last, you know, 3, 4, 5, 2 years, 5 years."
Yeah.
And I think it's easier for women to approach their husbands and say, "Hey, I think you need to get your hormones checked." And even then, it took a while. And even then, I had to order the blood test and tell him when and where to show up. So sometimes you have to really be far more assertive in this process to get them to actually do get them over and get it done.
Yeah, it was a little reversed in our situation. I was just quietly understanding what was happening, but not wanting to do anything about it because just bringing up the word menopause was like another one of those dread time in lives. But like the more educated I get, and
Is
then
it
here
because you were
talking to
like, I'm
you,
old. I'm old
right?
now.
Yeah. But
I
then
can't
finally
trim
looking in the
myself.
mirror, I was like, "Okay, this is not me. This is not me. I need to get back to me." And then hearing your point of view that we shouldn't be dreading it because if we handle it correctly, it could be some of the best years of our lives,
Oh,
sexually
mhm.
and emotionally and maritally,
All
physically,
all realms. Yep.
all of the things. Well, I thank you
Absolutely.
so much for your time today, Monica. It was great. It was a pleasure, and I learned a lot. I took some notes.
Well, great. I appreciate the invite, and yeah, I'll see you around on X.
Yes, of course. We'll go in there and get spicy.
That's right.
All right. Thank you so much.
Okay, we'll chat later.